When tabloids screamed DNA confirmed in 2014, headlines sold faster than truth. The lab denied involvement, but fan theories later suggested that court filings might have contained more than simple DNA papers. Rumors spoke of contracts, letters, even initials, though no public record ever confirmed it. But courts went quiet, reporters vanished, and Howard walked away. Therefore, was the silence justice, or a price for peace too high to question? Two decades after the world lost Michael Jackson in 2009, studio engineers in Los Angeles 2010 began whispering about a newcomer named B. Howard, whose voice seemed to bend time. In one playback session at Westlake Studios, a technician paused and said, "That vibrato, tell me, that's not Michael." The room fell silent. B. Howard's early recordings, especially Dance Floor 2010, carried a tonal match so precise that waveform analysts compared phrasing curves between his track and Jackson's The Way You Make Me Feel 1987. One veteran mixer estimated a 94% frequency overlap in mid-range resonance, numbers that made even skeptics lean closer to the speakers. However, Howard never claimed connection. In a 2014 interview, he stated, "People hear similarities because Michael inspired me. That's the truth." Historians note that his mother, Mickey Howard, worked under Joe Jackson's management in the late 1980s, a factual link that added gravity to fan debates. Therefore, the mystery grew from data, not gossip, matching studio addresses, overlapping producers, and shared rehearsal circles in the 1980s Los Angeles music scene. Even now, archived demo reels stored at Capitol Records Vault B7 list session tags labeled MJ Ref. One engineer admitted those initials sparked endless late-night arguments about lineage and legacy. In 1981, the Beverly Wilshire Hotel stood at the heart of Los Angeles glamour, hosting record deals, movie contracts, and whispers that never made headlines. That summer, jazz vocalist Mickey Howard performed nightly at the Roxy on Sunset Boulevard, just 4 miles away. Industry gossip began after a hotel ledger entry showed 2 bookings under names that sparked curiosity: M. Howard and M. Jackson. No photograph confirmed their meeting, yet the timing was uncanny. Michael Jackson had been recording early Thriller demos at Westlake Studios, often staying in Beverly Hills to avoid press. An archived Billboard magazine issue from August 1981 confirms his local sessions that same week. Decades later, a retired hotel concierge told a fan journalist in 1993, 2 couriers delivered identical flower arrangements to that suite. No sender listed. The clue resurfaced during an estate memorabilia auction in 2010, when a faded registry page bearing those signatures appeared briefly online before being purchased anonymously. Collectors still debate its authenticity. Historians view it as symbolic, a physical echo of intersecting careers rather than proof of private ties. Some fans, however, treat that single page as the spark that lit every rumor that followed, tracing a myth from one summer night in Los Angeles 1981 to decades of unanswered questions. Who really stood beside Mickey Howard in that 1983 photograph? By 1983, the Victory Tour rehearsals had drawn enormous crowds and even bigger speculation. In that same year, a grainy black and white photograph surfaced decades later, showing Mickey Howard beside a tall figure in aviator glasses. The picture, dated July 1983, was allegedly taken backstage at a Chicago arena, one of the few cities where Jackson's team and Howard's promo schedule overlapped. When the image leaked online in 2010, digital experts analyzed pixel grids and exposure data. One metadata trace pointed to a source labeled Jackson Fam Archive 83, suggesting an upload from a family-associated hard drive. However, photography historians such as Dr. Leon Chambers of UCLA warned that metadata can be duplicated. Digital trails alone don't prove authorship. Still, fans were captivated. Message boards counted over 12,000 reposts within 48 hours, with some claiming to identify Jackson's trademark brooch pattern, yet no original negative ever surfaced. One collector insisted the photograph came from a private Chicago Tribune contact who later withdrew from public interviews. The picture's mystery persists because it feels almost cinematic. Two lives framed together, one rising, one reigning, both destined to intertwine in rumor. And when signatures began echoing those same shapes, curiosity turned into obsession. When signatures start to look the same, what does it mean? In 2010, when B. Howard released his debut album, Genesis, fans quickly noticed something odd. The autograph printed inside the liner notes carried a looping M and curved H that mirrored Michael Jackson's signature from contracts of the early 1990s. Side-by-side comparisons soon flooded forums, and even professional graphologists weighed in. Handwriting analyst Dr. Karen Upton reviewed scans on a fan channel in 2011, saying, "The muscle memory between both signatures is remarkably similar. You can't fake that rhythm without years of practice." But skeptics argued that admiration often becomes imitation, especially when a young artist grows up studying his idol's every move.
Number 2, I've never self-proclaimed to be Michael Jackson.
Historical archives confirm that Howard attended Los Angeles County High School for the Arts, the same period when Jackson's dangerous era dominated pop culture. Therefore, stylistic influence was unavoidable. Still, coincidences deepened when collectors found an old 1992 backstage pass signed "Love Always MJ." The A swirl matched Howard's later autograph, almost stroke for stroke.
And they said there will never be another Michael Jackson, but we have one.
B. Howard addressed the theory calmly in a 2014 radio interview, stating, "Michael inspired millions. If our handwriting looks alike, that's called legacy, not lineage." Yet a few analysts quietly saved comparison charts, convinced that pen pressure tells stories words never could. DNA story that made headlines, then vanished. The year 2014 became a turning point. On March 6th, entertainment outlet TMZ published headlines claiming a tabloid outlets in 2014 circulated a story claiming a DNA comparison linked B. Howard to Michael Jackson, a report the named lab later denied conducting. Within hours, global tabloids echoed the same story, flashing phrases like "secret test confirms connection." Crowds formed outside Howard's Los Angeles studio, reporters shouting for comment, but when the dust settled, the lab cited in those articles
time when Michael Jackson appeared here in Poland, and obviously you were his son, so he just decided and did a kind of promise that his
DNA Lab Inc., based in Irvine, California, issued a public denial stating no official test involving these parties was conducted under our supervision. The confusion fueled more chaos than clarity. Howard stepped before microphones during a March 10th press briefing, calmly saying, "I've never claimed to be anyone's son. The truth is, people will believe what they want." Later investigations found no verified court filings, and online documents turned out to be unauthenticated material shared on fan sites. Yet curiosity only grew. Online archives recorded over 7.8 million search queries that month for B. Howard DNA results.
Like Michael Jackson. You're very kind, you talk like Michael Jackson, and you're talented as hell. What is your relationship with Michael Jackson?
The legal silence that followed felt louder than any verdict. Journalists described unopened envelopes, sealed evidence boxes, and one insider whispering the real file never left the courthouse. That's when family names started reappearing in the story once more. By 1989, singer Mickey Howard was climbing the R&B charts with Love Under New Management. Behind the music, however, her professional ties reached into the Jackson empire itself. Public records and interviews confirm that Joe Jackson, patriarch of the famous family, briefly managed her career through his Ivory Tower Productions label. That fact alone linked the Howards to one of the most influential dynasties in pop history. During a 1991 Jet magazine feature. Joe described Mickey as a rare voice with old school power. Around that time, B. Howard, barely a teenager, was seen backstage at several family-related showcases in Los Angeles. Photos from a 1992 Soul Train event show him standing near members of the Jackson Circle, smiling shyly beside established stars. Years later, in 2010, gossip columns reignited interest after a brunch photo surfaced showing Mickey Howard seated across from Siggy Jackson, Michael's nephew. The gathering reportedly celebrated a charity milestone, yet online commentators saw hidden meaning in every handshake. Those moments blur the border between coincidence and legacy, reminding fans that show business families often orbit closer than the public ever imagines. Still, the next clue wouldn't come from bloodlines. It came from the soundboard of a studio veteran who remembered too much. What did the producer hear that no one else was supposed to? In 2016, a retired R&B producer known publicly as Marcus Caldwell appeared on a little-heard podcast called Rhythm Rewind. Around the 22-minute mark, he paused mid-story and said, "There was a kid in the early 2000s, looked like Michael, sang like him, carried that same calm energy." Listeners later identified the description as B. Howard, then an emerging songwriter in Los Angeles. Caldwell had worked in studios that overlapped with Jackson family associates, particularly during remix projects at Larrabee Sound Studios. He recalled overhearing conversations hinting that some legacies live quietly to avoid the spotlight. Within days of the episode's release, the recording vanished from streaming platforms, replaced by a generic placeholder file marked audio unavailable due to copyright. Fans archived fragments before removal, generating more than 400,000 plays in the first week. Industry insiders called it coincidence, but forums erupted with speculation. Caldwell later told Billboard Radio in August 2017, "I never meant to stir drama, just sharing what I heard back then." The deletion only deepened the mystery. When sound disappears, people search for proof in whatever echoes remain, and sometimes those echoes turn digital. 5-minute tweet that the internet can't forget. Late one night in June 2019, fans scrolling through social media caught something shocking. A verified producer's account briefly posted and quickly deleted a cryptic message that fans interpreted as a reference to the rumor, though the user later said it was unrelated. The tweet lasted less than 5 minutes before vanishing, but not before hundreds took screenshots. Within an hour, it hit Reddit's r/music conspiracy, drawing over 18,000 upvotes and wild debate. Digital archivists confirmed the timestamp matched an official device ID from Los Angeles. When asked later, the account owner said during a July 2019 Q&A, it was a misunderstanding, nothing to do with anyone personally. Yet moments later, he deleted his entire profile, fueling speculation even more. By August, cached images of the post had spread to fan sites across 47 countries. Analysts noticed a detail most missed. The tweet's final emoji, a single music note and crown, symbols long associated with Michael Jackson's iconography. Weeks later, the same user returned under a new handle, posting lyrics that read, "Bloodlines in stereo, truth in echo." The digital trail suggested something deeper, and what followed next didn't happen online. It unfolded behind closed gates in California's quiet hills. Inside the 2021 Garden meeting that no cameras captured in September 2021 under the gold evening light of Calabasas, California. Event schedules and attendee reports suggested that both parties arrived around the same time at the private fundraiser, though no publicly released footage confirms it. Inside, guests attended a fundraiser hosted by the Heal Los Angeles Foundation, an organization linked to the Jackson family legacy. Among those listed on the official guest sheet was B. Howard, appearing under his full name, Brandon Alexander Howard. Some attendees later reported a brief exchange between Howard and a Jackson family member, though no photos or official records substantiated it. An event volunteer told Variety in October 2021. They talked privately near the Garden area. No cameras, no staff nearby. That same month, Howard's verified Instagram account posted a captionless image of a sunset over Mulholland Drive, followed by the line, "New beginnings require quiet endings." Within hours, the post gathered over 60,000 likes before he archived it without comment. Foundation attendees described his demeanor as calm but distant, leaving the event early before speeches concluded. Therefore, what appeared to be a polite reunion instead deepened the intrigue. The night ended quietly, yet those who noticed the timing said it felt symbolic, like closure rehearsed in silence. But sometimes endings are only a disguise for reinvention. By 2022, B. Howard began quietly stepping back from the spotlight that once defined his career. He closed his verified Twitter account, wiped hundreds of Instagram posts, and launched a new musical identity under the single-letter moniker B. His rebrand coincided with the release of the experimental EP Project 7, uploaded to streaming platforms on August 19th, 2022. Industry data from Spotify for Artists recorded a 213% increase in monthly listeners within 2 weeks of that release, even as Howard declined interviews. One executive from Sony/ATV Publishing commented in September 2022, "He's distancing himself from legacy chatter and building something original." By 2023, he was producing soundtracks for independent films and supporting humanitarian causes in Tokyo and Los Angeles, rarely mentioning family or lineage. In a quiet conversation during a Japanese radio appearance in April 2023, he said, "Art should outlive rumor. That's all I care about now." Therefore, the cycle of speculation ended where creativity began, on his own terms. Yet paradoxically, the less he said, the more people listened, and that lingering silence keeps one final question echoing through every timeline. What truth did he choose to leave unsung? And maybe that's the real secret. Truth isn't found, it's felt. Subscribe, stay close, and join me in the next story already flickering on your screen, waiting to be uncovered.